Okay. Oh, it switched my screen. Let me do this. Okay. Um, so hopefully you guys are seeing the presentation. We good? Okay. So this is part of our Beyond the Basics series. And we are talking about instructor feedback today. And okay, move forward. All right, so just as we get started, we want to propose norms. This is something y'all have seen before, I know, but we just like to reiterate these. Love practicing forming new habits of mind that challenge the limits of your potential. So we're specifically going to consider different ways to provide feedback in Canvas today. And then just if you can have your video camera on, that'd be great, and mute your sound when you're not speaking. Okay, so when we our agenda today is we're going to take just a minute to talk about quality instructor feedback and what that looks like. But then also our goal is to get into the gradebook to show some things about the feedback there, specifically in the speed grader and the use of annotations as well, and then providing feedback in quizzes, Canvas quizzes, and then different features in the gradebook that allow you to message specific students with feedback. There is a help file that goes along with all this. It gives you all the steps of everything you're going to see today. And the URL that's on the screen will provide you with that help file if you want to get to that. All right. So let's talk about quality instructor feedback to start with. I know a lot of y'all have already seen these kinds of things, so this really is just a reminder for all of us. And I personally am challenged by the first one, timely feedback, and what does that mean? In the reading that I did on this, the studies say feedback doesn't necessarily have to be immediate, but it should be timely in that it's provided on an assignment before the student is moving on to another assignment. Especially if you look at it from the standpoint of feedback helps to provide information that encourages the student to really grow in the content area that you're dealing with. Then before they have another assignment for that or move on to a different topic or module, getting that feedback is really important. So the encouragement in the literature is to set a reasonable deadline by which you'll review and comment on student work. And I think one of the biggest things that I gained from our summer book clubs that we had in the CTL was that, schedule that time for yourself. Set aside that time on your calendar. If you know that students are going to turn something in on Sunday night, then block off some time on Monday to be able to review that work and be able to provide feedback. So think about your deadlines in regard to your schedule and when you're going to be able to set aside time to provide that feedback. Balanced feedback. So if we consider feedback as that motivational tool for continued learning, then we want to make sure that the feedback we're providing is it's informational, but it's also reaffirming to students. So having that balance between positive comments and very specific targeted feedback is super important. Using encouraging words, but I'm not saying to sugarcoat anything. I'm not saying not to say what needs to be said, but just doing it in that way that's really going to preserve the relationship with that student and encourage them to continue on their learning path. So I think this means a little bit of humor, like if you're wanting to say this is a real train wreck, you might not ought to say that. So finding ways to give specific feedback to really help them to learn and grow from that. And that takes us to the actionable piece. It needs to be targeted so that it's concrete and detailed directions and feedback so that they can take that and immediately implement that in what they're going to do next. And then the consistency in that. It's not only providing it frequently, but also in a format that the students can expect so they know how to access their feedback. One of the suggestions in the reading I did on this was the Canvas rubrics are very helpful with this. And that is true. We are not going to go through the Canvas rubrics today because honestly, that could be a whole session. So we are going to plan to do a session in the future on those Canvas rubrics. But that is a great way to make sure that the feedback you're providing is in a consistent format for your students. Okay, so I'm going to get into Canvas now, and let me stop this, and I've got two screens going, so one thing's popping up on the other screen, so this is fun. And I'm going to go into a Canvas course where we can play a little bit. Okay. In this Canvas course, the first thing I want to do is I want to go into the gradebook. And this may be something you're already familiar with, but just in case, I want to make sure that you can see this. And poor Robbie Hampton, yes, you'll see your grades there, Robbie. Sorry about that. But this is a course that we use to demo, and thankfully, different ones of our faculty were willing to be kind of test students for us in this, and so we really appreciate that, Robbie. So let's say I'm going to give Robbie some feedback. I can just simply click in the cell here, and then you'll see on the right side that there's, it looks like a door to me opening. That's what it looks like to me. Like it has the arrow pointing to the right. So it's like, okay, I'm going to open the door to be able to provide some information. When I click on that icon, I can also put the grade here. Notice that if this is an excused assignment for a particular student, I can designate that there. But then it just has this comment box. Now this is only in this spot, only text comments. So it's typing in comments for the student. The great thing about this is when they go to get their grades and to see their comments, they'll see it right below where it has the number. It'll have a little speech bubble next to the number that's assigned to the points for their grade. And then they click on that speech bubble and these comments will just pop up right there for the students. So that's the first thing. All right. Wanted to see, okay. So let's say I'm going to go into this and we're going to go into the speed grader next. So when I go into an assignment and to get there, I just simply clicked on that heading. So right here is the label for the assignment. So I clicked on that and then I get the option of speed grader right there. So I can just click on speed grader right there. And by the way, that link for speed grader shows up in a number of different places. You know, where we clicked a minute ago, where the little door was with the arrow, that panel that pops up, you'll see there's an option for clicking on speed grader there as well. So there's a number of different places that you'll see that option. Here, I can go student by student just by clicking this down arrow. And then I can also just go to the next student by clicking that. Of course, this is where you can put a grade and then type in a comment here. Likely those are things that you've already tried. How many of you have tried a media comment? That would be an audio or a video comment. No? Okay. Well, this middle button, so the underneath the comment box here, the first one, it looks like a paper clip. That's to attach a file. The second one is the media comment box. If you click that, then it comes up, and are y'all seeing this record? Okay. It comes up with this window. Now, you can do just simply an audio feedback message to them if you want and not engage the camera. So I can click on webcam and just say no video. And now I would just be recording an audio message to them. You can click on mic and make sure that the correct mic is chosen here. And then you just simply start recording. Now, I don't think this will work, but I'm going to try it anyway, just because, just for kicks and grins. It does do the countdown. Okay, well, it looks like it's recording. Not sure if it does. So we'll see, right? I'm going to hit finish. Notice I could also click start over if I was like, oh, I messed up on that, right? So click finish. And now I get this little place here where I can type in a label for it. Now, it automatically puts the untitled and then the date and time. You may just want to keep that. That's totally up to you. But when you start typing here, notice all that goes away, that grade part. So if you type anything in this little box, which I can't type right now, evidently, then the date and time stuff goes away. So you can either put in a label or you can just keep the default. And then you just click save. Now the comment is attached here. And this student will be able to see that they have a media comment. And all they do, okay, well, is click to play it. Guess what? That worked. I didn't think it would work because Zoom is using my microphone right now, but evidently it worked. So that was pretty cool. You can do that same thing. So I'm going to delete that comment off. You can do that same thing with a video comment. So I could record this here. I could start recording. It's going to count down for me. And I could record my feedback for the student and then click finish when I'm done and hit make sure to do the label if I want to, and then hit save. And then that video then is now attached and I could record. So, okay, so those are media comments on this. Also, this third button you might be interested is speech recognition. How many of y'all have played with this? Okay, so this is where you hit record and then you type in, or I mean, you talk what you want to be typed in the comment box. I'm going to stop it, and you see it appears. What I just said appears in this comment box here. Okay. So that's what that's about, is to be able to like, to speak what you want to be typed in the comment box. All right, so I'm going to pause here a second. What questions do you all have on this?
I just typed this in. I tried the media recording, I guess when we were doing Flipgrids. And is there a browser that you're supposed to recommend? Because my students couldn't hear what I was saying to them.
So one of the things that I have found, and then I'm going to let Hope speak to this, but one of the things I found is if they're trying to use Safari, Safari is kind of cranky when it comes to Canvas. It doesn't always work. So I always recommend, if at all possible, for students to use Chrome.
Yeah, that's what I would back up, is Chrome is the preferred browser for Canvas. So, and especially if you're using Chrome as well, then just kind of, encourage students, like, this is the preferred browser. Some of the features may not work as well if you're using some of the other browsers, because some of the features get outdated, and then Canvas doesn't want to spend the time kind of working out the kinks to get, it ready for the new browser, when they do updates and stuff.
And I will say that sometimes I have found myself trying to record something and thought it recorded my audio, and when I went to preview it, realized there was no audio. So there was this place to choose your microphone. When this media comments comes up, you've got this microphone button down here, so you can choose the microphone. So you want to make sure that you've chosen the one that's working for you, is really the one that you're intending to use. And then the other thing is, once you're finished with recording it, then it actually gives you, like, let's see, I'll show you this part. Okay, so now it's recording, and then I finish. Now see, this is preview mode. So I can actually play it here to make sure that it got what I thought it got. Okay, so that's another way you can check. I also didn't mention this, but you can actually upload media files. So if you have an audio file already that you want to include in the feedback, then you can select it here, or you can also select a video file. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to go back into the speed grader. I'm trying to figure out. That's a discussion, an assignment. Do we have, is this an upload? Do you think we have some uploads here?
Yeah, I think there are.
Okay, good. Okay. So this is what I wanted to get to, is in SpeedGrader, when you've had students upload to submit to an assignment, then it comes up in what's called the doc viewer, which is what this area is over on the left side here. Up above that, there's this toolbar, and these are for annotations that you can make on students' work. So and you can go through this. The help document I have takes you through what each one of these is. A lot of them are pretty self-explanatory, like this is enter full screen. This is to select. So if I just want to select some text, then that's what the arrow's for. The dot, and I can change, notice now I can change color on this. So let's say I wanted it to be green, then I could pinpoint a specific spot, and then it would give me a place to leave a comment. Notice that if I don't want that comment, I have the ability to delete it with that trash can icon there. And I can trash this whole dot. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. Then the next thing is the highlighter tool. And I have to say, with the annotations, this is probably the one I use the most. Different people would probably do that differently, but when you do the highlighter tool, then you can, when you have it selected, then you can just highlight by clicking and dragging over the part that you want to leave a comment about. And then it gives you this little box here, and you can just click it and you can leave your comment there about that. Again, if for some reason you need to delete that off, then you've got this little delete here. And yes, I want to delete the annotation. This is really cool. The T is text, and you have these options with the different colors, whether or not you want it to have a background color or not. So is it gonna be white background behind the text you put in, or is it just gonna be no background? So it's gonna be transparent. And this is the size of the text. So what this allows you to do is click anywhere on the student's document, and it gives you like a text box, and you would just simply, you know, type in a comment, and then so you can leave free form text for them anywhere in their document. That's an annotation. So that's a pretty neat feature there. And then this is the strike through. So let's say, you know, you want to make clear that this is something they shouldn't have included, then, and this is a little tricky once you get it started. So I've got it chosen. I have my color here. Let's say I want to strike through this. Then it just draws the line on it. All right, and this is the drawing tool. So this little paintbrush is for you to draw right on their paper. So if you can choose your line thickness here, you can choose your color, and then you just simply draw with your mouse, and then you can leave a comment associated with that. One thing I wanted to point out to you that just popped up, so I'll do this again. Notice over here now it has a check mark next to the trash can. This check mark means save. So anytime you see that with an annotation, it's asking you, do you want to save this annotation? So it doesn't assume you want to save it until you've actually made a comment with it. And then, so at this point, I could, yes, just save the circle. I don't need to make any comments with it. Or I can delete it, or I can go ahead and make my comment. And once I make my comment associated with it, then it's going to assume you want it saved. And this last one is to select an area. So you can just select an area on the student's document. Again, it gives you the comment box. I could leave a comment like this is now the old logo, right? And it's there. So even after I finished making the comment and it's no longer in edit mode, let's say I need to add something, I can still click back on it and edit again. I can also, I get this trash can here. Notice there's an option to reply to any of your own comments if you want to. So I'm gonna say, okay. And then to delete the box off, I go to the trash can here. All right, so that's all of the tools. You likely have already seen this download here. So what the download does is it allows you to download the PDF or the document from your student with the annotations in it. So this download on the left includes whatever annotations you've made. So you can keep a copy for yourself. However, over here, you'll see there's a little download. So the name of her files right here, and there's a download here. That's to download her original document without your annotations, okay? So that's the difference between those. Okay, so I will pause here and see what questions you have about that. How many of you guys have used the annotations before? Yeah? So Robbie, what was your experience using the annotations with your students?
The biggest frustration that I have is that students are always saying they don't see the annotations. You know, I don't know if it's they're not knowing where to look, but I'm forever having students say, "Oh, I didn't know you gave me any feedback."
Yes.
So that's frustrating.
And that's a big key, Robbie, because students won't just be able to pick up on that themselves. You are going to have to be very explicit in letting them know how they receive that feedback. So when they go to view their grade, then there'll be a link that says view feedback for them. So it'll show up for them on the top right, kind of in this area. And they have to click that view feedback link before they see your annotations. Even then, let's say I've done a highlight and I've left an annotation here. All right. Then they're not going to see it like this. What they see is simply the highlight. And then they have to when they put the cursor over it, it'll pop up with what you said. Okay. Or they have to click it for it to pop up for them to see what you said. The other thing they can do is they can do this download, because they have this download as well, and then open it and say like Adobe PDF, and they can see the annotations there. So it is a little tricky, and it's not as, that piece of it I don't think is as intuitive or for students. So we do have to help them understand how to get that feedback. Rachel, I know you've experienced using this too, right?
Yes, and I would say my frustration is similar to Robbie's. I always give like an overall comment in the big box below the grade, and just say see additional comments throughout. But I don't know that I'm wondering what the student view is even of that big comment. Like, does that immediately pop up? And then also, I think I have a lot of students who, they do the majority of their stuff, sometimes even composing things on their phones. And I just wonder what it looks like on the phone too. So.
Yeah, so that's a good question. On the phone, it is a different view. And when the student goes to where they submitted their file, it actually has 3 tabs at the bottom. One that says comments, and you have to click that little tab on your phone or tap it for the instructor comments to come up. As far as the annotations on the phone, Hope, I've not had experience trying to do that myself. I've always gone to the computer to try to see the annotations. What's your experience with that?
Yeah, I haven't either. Like, one of the downsides is I've not been a student in any classes, so I have never seen the students, which is actually really helpful having Julia currently as a student on campus, so she can give some insight on these things. But I've not been a student myself, so I am out of the loop there, unfortunately.
Yeah. So one of the things I've gone to doing is in that big comment box like you're talking about. So what she's talking about there for the rest of y'all is she's talking about like this comment box down here. So in there, when I've done annotations, I'll give like a brief statement like you're talking about, Rachel, and then I'll say to see specific feedback, be sure to click the view feedback link to view annotations throughout your document. And so I give that specific direction in there. I've had a few of my students come back to me and say, I don't see where that view feedback link is. And so I just tell them, well, on that screen you're looking at it, because their assignment comments show up right here too for them. So on that screen where you're looking, then if you're on your computer, then that view feedback link will be right here. I also think, I'm trying to think back to when I've used it, that view feedback link does show up on the mobile version as well. I just don't know how user friendly it is for them to see the comments on a mobile device, because it's smaller. Okay, anything else with this?
I tend to do a combination of the annotations along with the video recording, just because a lot of times, most of the classes I teach are grad classes, and I'm really big on APA formatting and trying to help them improve their writing. And so I want them to hear my voice, that I'm really trying to help them be better writers. And so, I'll mark up the paper, but then I'll kind of go through and do a little video announcement as well to kind of humanize it a little bit, where they don't get freaked out when they go in there and see all kinds of marks. I can't take the English teacher out of me.
I've noticed a lot of times when I use the dot to leave comments or try to leave comments, sometimes just nothing happens. And I click it 2 or 3 times and finally something will happen. But then that little dotted line will just kind of go all over the place. I wonder if that's because I'm using Firefox and not Chrome.
It could be associated with the browser. I think if you've got a lot of feedback that you're leaving, I think that's probably why I default to the highlighter, because I can highlight specific things and they can then click on this and know what comment goes with which wording, in their writing. Yeah, I haven't used the dot a whole lot because, like you said, you get some craziness going on, lots of dots, and then,
Okay.
Okay. All right, so let's move on to quizzes. So in Canvas quizzes, one of the things you can do is leave feedback for students when they choose specific answer choices in your quiz. So I'm going to go into this quiz, and when I go to edit, I can click on the tab that says questions. And then on the individual question, there's a little pencil icon. So I can click on that to go back and to edit that particular question. Once I do, I go down to these answer choices, and I don't know if you've noticed before these little like boxes that have ... on them. This is one of those things that I think Canvas could probably have made a little more obvious. But when you do this, then and click it, then it gives you a box to be able to type in feedback for whatever student has chosen that answer choice. Okay, maybe it's close, but no cigar, right? Okay. And then you just
that's funny because I was thinking that same answer in my mind.
So then you can say done, and then this is the comments that's going to show up for them. Now it's red, that indicates that this is the wrong answer, right? So you can leave a comment, a feedback comment for anybody who chooses that answer. And you can do that for each individual answer. Or at the bottom here, there are 3 boxes. The green means this would be the comment for anybody who chooses the correct answer. So you just click it, you get the box again, you type in what you want it to be, you hit done. And then there's a box here that's red. So that's for anybody who chooses a wrong answer, not a specific answer, but any wrong answer. And then the blue one is just simply general feedback that you want to give. So anybody who actually answers this in any way would receive whatever you type in this blue general comments box. And then you just hit update question. Now, this is by question, this feedback. The one thing that I have not found on this is a way to do overall general comments for the quiz. So I don't see that that piece is built in, but you can do it by question. Okay. All right. Thoughts about that, or any questions about that?
I was just going to make a comment. I was working with a professor, I guess sometime, and it's all blending together. And for the wrong answer feedback, the professor, it was like a practice quiz that students could take multiple times. They put like where in the chapter that particular answer would be found. So that way it was a resource for students if they wanted to go back to study again before taking the quiz again, which was nice.
Yeah, and you know, if if a student chooses a particular answer choice and it's incorrect, and that, you know, that's an indicator that the student has misunderstood some content, then you could potentially give an explanation at that point if you wanted to. So that's totally depends upon your purpose for the quiz. Is it a low stakes quiz that's more of a formative assessment, or is this a test? You know, because then you would do those things differently, obviously. Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to the grade book where we started to show you one more thing. And this is something, if you were in last week's session, you saw this from Hope as well. This is something that she's taught me this semester. And I have used this so many times since she showed it to me. So let's say you want to provide feedback to a student that made a lower score. So here we've got a student that made a lower score. So I can go to this 3 dots. When I put my cursor over on the top, on that header, then I'll see 3 vertical dots on the right. Hope likes to call this the snowman. And so you click on that. And one of the options and you see that SpeedGrader link again, so it shows up multiple places. One of the options here is to message students who. So now I can click on message students who, and I get several different options. Who haven't submitted yet, haven't been graded, scored less than, or scored more than. So let's say I want to do scored less than, and then I have to give this a score. So let's say scored less than 13. Oh, here we go. So it automatically puts in the student I'm going to be sending the message to and what their score was for me at this point. Now, you don't have to keep this subject the same. In fact, if I'm doing this, I would not keep that the same. I would simply say, follow up on such and such quiz, right? So I would change this to follow up on example quiz. And then I just type in the message and then send message, and it will send it through Canvas Mail to that one student. I like it because it's not that you're doing like a blast to everyone. It's very targeted feedback. If I had a student who did really poorly on something, then I could use this to say, hey, I wanted to check in with you on this. This is, not typical of you. And, I'd like to, is what's going on? Is there any, how can I help? That sort of thing, and let them know that I'm there for them. So I really like that feature. How many of you have used that before? Yep. Okay. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Okay. So this is primarily, other than rubrics, which does help with feedback as well, but there's so much with rubrics. We don't really have time today to get into that. But so I'm wondering what comments, things you want to share about providing instructor feedback and or questions you have.
I have a comment, just a new way that I actually use the message students this week. So I have a student who in my class who's receiving accommodations, and they get extra time to submit certain things. And so I was able to go in there of message students who hadn't submitted yet, delete out the other students, and send her a message of kind of what the proposed date of submission for the assignment would be. So that way I kind of had, I'm a documentation junkie. And so I kind of had it documented of kind of the agreement that she and I had reached on when she would have it submitted for the class. So it was really helpful just to, I could have just, done a regular message, but I was able just to, keep it on the title of the assignment in there, and then just use that to send her a little message of our agreed upon date for the accommodation that she was receiving. So that was something new for me.
Yeah, that's great.
When you leave a comment on a quiz, then does the student automatically see that when they look at it, or do they have to click on something else and go somewhere else to see the comment?
Yeah, so let me get back to that. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's no overall setting on that. Is there, Hope?
No.
Yeah. Okay, so I believe that feedback shows up to them. There is a setting. So let's see. Quiz type. Trying to see where it is. I think I'm going to have to go to edit. Well, I am in edit. Okay. Well, I thought there was a setting where you can choose when to show them the answers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It's their quiz, when they see their quiz responses, incorrect questions will be marked in student feedback. Okay, so are you going to let them only once after each attempt, or let students see the correct answers? And when do you want to show them? So you can choose. So let's say you're doing a Canvas quiz and you've decided to, everybody's doing it remote. So you decided to keep it open for like 5 hours during a day. Only it's a timed quiz test, so they only get like 60 minutes to complete it once they start it. Then you could set this to show the correct answers at the end of that 5-hour window, so that none of the students get the correct answers until after the window has closed for everyone. Does that make sense? So that's what the purpose of this is. If you don't want the correct answers to be seen when they go back into their quiz later, past a certain date, then you can hide those answers as well at a certain time. So I believe they see that feedback in relation to these settings.
Okay.
All right, what else?
There used to be, this might not be directly related to feedback, but it's how I provide feedback. I don't release grades usually unless I've graded everybody's. So there used to be that little easy button to hide, and then they made it so you had to change the grade posting policy. But then, yeah, when you clicked on that, I noticed a hide grades button. Does that hide the whole thing like it used to?
Yes.
Okay. Because that went away for a minute, or I think it did.
They reshifted it with the new grade book compared to the old grade book. So back
Okay.
in January when we transitioned over. So
Okay.
yeah, I really liked the eyeball
I did
myself.
too. Yeah,
I
the
know.
eyeball was really easy to see. So, okay.
Well, and if you go into this, if I go into speed grader, you get the eyeball still up here.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, I liked that eyeball too. All right, I'm going to stop share. Oops. Okay. Well, Hope put in the link to the handout in the chat so that you guys have that. And we really appreciate you coming, being part of this today. Hope this was helpful to you. Is there anything else, Hope?
Oh, excellent. Thank you, Julia. So,
Right.
yeah. Excellent.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see y'all later.
Yes. Thank you all.